In this video, we'll go through the process of measuring your pergola for a custom retractable shade and then installing the shade. Let's start with this example pergola. We have decided that we want the shade to open side to side and must now measure the opening the shade will span. The first measurement is for the width of the shade fabric, which is length A and B on the measurement sheet. The second measurement is for the length of the track, which is length C and D. You will also have to decide which way you want the shade to drain. In this case, we are sloping the shade away from the house to drain any accumulated rainwater. After submitting your measurements, we will fabricate and ship your custom pergola shade in a cardboard tube. We will now unwrap everything and inspect the contents for damage and missing parts. The shade fabric and tracks come wrapped separately. Also included is any required hardware for installation, as well as installation instructions and a packing list. Cut away the plastic wrap with a knife or scissors, being careful not to damage the contents. Though install is very easy, take the time to read through the installation instructions included in the bundle. Also look through the included parts list and ensure that everything is accounted for. To get an idea of how the shade is installed, lay out the tracks and the shade fabric on the ground below the pergola. There are a few tools required to install your pergola shade. All you will need is a ladder, or two if using a helper, a drill and screw gun, a tape measure, and a level. If installing by yourself, a couple of clamps will be useful as well to act as third hands. We'll start first by installing the high side track. This side is installed tight with the bottom of the pergola joists. When lining up the track, be sure to leave room at the end for the end caps. Using the 1/4 inch drill bit included in the kit, pre-drill through the track for your first screw. It may be easiest to do this on the ground prior to lifting the track into place. After drilling through the track, fasten it to the pergola using one of the included Torx screws. Repeat this process at the opposite end of the track, and also add 2 more evenly spaced screws in the middle of the track. For the track on the low side, it may be convenient to use a wooden spacer block to ensure a consistent drop. Some pergola kits contain purpose-made lowering brackets that attach to the underside of the joists, which serve the same purpose. As with the high side track, pre-drill and fasten the low side track to the pergola using the included Torx screws. With the tracks attached, now is time to install the shade fabric. We have labeled the shade rollers to indicate the side that goes in first, which is identified by the sticker you see here. The rollers for our pergola shade kits are magnetic, so they stick together as a bundle when retracted. Before sliding the shade into the track, lubricate the rollers with the lubricant included in the kit. Lifting the leading end of the shade fabric, slide the rollers into each of the tracks and slide it slightly down the trackway. Then, continue the process and slide the remaining rollers into the track. With the shade fabric in place, the end caps can be added to the tracks. These are simply short pieces of track material with stops attached that keep the shade from rolling off the track. Attach these to both tracks using the included screws. Note that these end caps can be removed, and then the shade rolled out of the tracks for storage during winter months. To keep the end of the shade in place, We have included these knobs, which the rope at the end of the shade hooks to. Center the knob between the tracks and pre-drill with an 1/8 inch drill bit, then screw in the knob. Using the included pulling rod, hook the rope around the knob at the stationary end of the shade. Repeat this process at the other end of the shade's travel path, which will keep the shade in the open position when in use. A third knob is also included in the kit, which can be placed near the stationary end to keep the shade in place when it's retracted. Otherwise, the third knob makes a handy place to hang the pulling rod. Give the shade a couple test pulls to ensure that everything opens and closes properly. The shade should also be tested to ensure that it sheds rain properly. With the shade open fully, use a garden hose to spray water on the top and check that it drains off the shade without excess accumulation in the fabric. At this point, your pergola shade is now installed. We hope you and your family will enjoy it for many years to come.